The Chosen One, born with more Force potential than any being in galactic history, destined to be the most powerful Force user ever. Then Mustafar happened. His body burned, his limbs severed, his potential crippled. But even at a fraction of what he should have been, Darth Vader was still terrifying. People argue about how powerful Darth Vader really was. Some say his injuries made him weak, that the suit held him back, that he lost most of his connection to the Force when he lost his limbs. And all of that is true. But here's what they forget. Even diminished, even broken, even trapped in that armor, Vader was the second most powerful being in the entire galaxy. Today I'm going to show you exactly how powerful Darth Vader was, his feats, his abilities, and why, despite everything he lost, he remained absolutely unstoppable. Anakin Skywalker had the highest midi-chlorian count ever recorded. Higher than Yoda, higher than any Jedi Master in the Order's history. He was literally born from the Force itself. The prophecy said he would bring balance, and his raw potential was unlimited. Then came Mustafar. Obi-Wan cut off his legs, cut off his arm, left him burning on the volcanic shore. By the time Palpatine found him, most of Anakin's body was destroyed. What remained had to be encased in a life support suit just to survive. The question everyone asks is, how much power did he lose? And the answer is complicated, because yes, he lost potential. His maximum possible power was reduced, but the power he retained was still enough to make him one of the most dangerous Force users who ever lived. Let's start with what Anakin was before Mustafar. The Chosen One, born with no father, created by the Force. His midi-chlorian count was over 20,000. For context, Yoda's was around 17,000. Mace Windu was around 12,000. Obi-Wan was around 13,000. Anakin's potential wasn't just high, it was off the scale. If he had reached his full potential, if he'd never been injured, he would have been twice as powerful as Palpatine. Maybe more. He would have been unstoppable, the greatest Force user in history, but that's not what happened. Mustafar changed everything. When Vader emerged from that operating table, encased in black armor, his potential was gone. George Lucas himself said Vader was reduced to about 80% of Palpatine's power. Still incredibly strong, but no longer the limitless being he should have been. Here's the thing, though. 80% of Palpatine is still more powerful than almost anyone else in the galaxy. And Vader spent the next 2 decades honing that power, perfecting it, becoming something terrifying. Vader's telekinesis was insane. This is one area where his power really showed. In the comics, he pulled a starship out of the sky. Not a small ship, a transport vessel. He reached up with the Force and dragged it down like it was nothing. The engines were firing. The pilot was trying to escape. Didn't matter. Vader pulled it from orbit and crashed it into the ground. He could collapse entire structures. In one instance, he brought down a fortress by crushing its support columns with the Force. Tons of metal and stone compressing like paper. During his fight with Ahsoka in Rebels, he was holding back massive amounts of water pressure. An entire base was flooded, and the water should have crushed everything. Vader created a Force barrier that kept the pressure contained while he fought. That level of sustained telekinetic control is ridiculous. He could also affect things at a distance. There are multiple instances of Vader Force choking people who weren't even in the same room. In one case, he choked an officer through a view screen, across space. The physics of how that works don't matter. He just did it. And unlike other Force users who had to concentrate to maintain telekinesis, Vader could do it casually. He'd be having a conversation while simultaneously crushing someone's windpipe or holding a door closed against armed opponents. It was second nature to him. Now let's talk about the suit. Because yes, it limited him, but not in the way most people think. The suit was deliberately designed by Palpatine to be uncomfortable, to cause pain. The needles that connected to Vader's body weren't just for medical monitoring. They were there to hurt him, keep him angry, keep him connected to the dark side through constant suffering. The armor was also heavy, much heavier than it needed to be. Vader had to use the Force constantly just to move at normal speed. Without the Force, he'd barely be able to walk, and the suit was vulnerable to electricity. Palpatine made sure of that. If Vader ever tried to kill him with Force lightning, the suit would short out and kill Vader instead. It was a built-in failsafe, but here's what people miss. The suit also made Vader nearly indestructible. It could take direct blaster hits without failing. He could walk through fire, survive in vacuum. The armor turned him into a walking tank, and the pain it caused, that fueled his power. The dark side draws strength from suffering. The suit kept Vader in a state of constant agony, which kept him constantly powerful. It was a prison, yes, but it was also a weapon. Vader's lightsaber skills were brutal. Before Mustafar, Anakin was one of the best duelists in the Jedi Order, fast, aggressive, unpredictable. After Mustafar, he had to completely change his style. He couldn't do the acrobatic flips and spins anymore. The suit was too heavy. His mechanical limbs didn't have the same flexibility. So he developed a new approach, Form V Gemso, taken to its absolute extreme. Every strike was designed to overpower. Every movement was about raw strength. He would use the Force to enhance his speed in short bursts. Not sustained speed like Anakin had, but explosive movements that let him strike before opponents could react. Then he'd use his physical strength to batter through their defenses. The Rogue One hallway scene shows this perfectly. Vader isn't dancing around. He's systematically destroying everything in his path, using the Force to pin people to ceilings, crushing weapons, pulling rebels toward his blade. It's not elegant. It's efficient and terrifying. In the comics, he fought multiple Jedi at once and won, not Padawans. Actual Jedi Masters who survived Order 66. He killed them all. One scene shows him taking on an entire squad of Jedi and not even getting scratched. He also trained the Inquisitors, former Jedi that Palpatine captured and turned to the dark side. Vader was their instructor, and he made sure they feared him more than they feared death, because he wanted them to know that if they ever failed, he would be the one to kill them. Vader's cybernetic body gave him physical strength that went beyond normal human limits. He could punch through solid metal, rip doors off their hinges, crush bones with his bare hands. There's a scene in the comics where he grabs a rebel soldier and literally tears him apart, just pulls his arms off. No lightsaber needed, just raw strength. His grip strength was absurd. When he grabbed someone, they weren't getting away. Period. There are multiple instances of him catching blades with his hands, not blocking with a lightsaber, catching them. The gloves on his suit were made of Beskar in some versions, which could withstand lightsaber strikes. He could also enhance his strength with the Force. Lift weights no normal person could move. In one comic, he holds up a collapsing ceiling while simultaneously fighting off attackers. The strain should have killed him. He just kept going. Here's the tragedy of Vader's power. No matter how strong he got, he could never surpass his master. And Palpatine made sure of that. Sidious had discovered something unique. While most Sith drew power from their own hatred and suffering, Sidious could draw power from the hatred others felt toward him. And Vader hated Palpatine deeply, constantly. That hatred made Vader powerful. But it made Palpatine even more powerful. Every time Vader's anger grew, Sidious got stronger. It was a perfect system. Vader was essentially a battery. His suffering and rage fed directly into Palpatine's power. And Palpatine used that power to keep Vader under control. The suit's vulnerability to lightning was just insurance. The real control was psychological. Palpatine had convinced Vader that he was weak, that he'd lost everything, that he could never be what he was supposed to be. And that belief kept Vader from ever truly challenging him. In the comics, Vader tried to kill Palpatine multiple times. He even dominated a massive creature called a Suma Verminoth and brought it to Exegol to fight the Emperor. Palpatine destroyed it effortlessly because he was drawing power from Vader's hatred even during the fight. The hallway scene in Rogue One is probably the best pure display of Vader's power in the movies. No emotional conflict, no holding back. Just Vader doing what he does best, killing efficiently. He cuts through a dozen rebels in less than a minute, uses the Force to pin them while he kills their friends, throws his lightsaber through multiple targets, pulls people toward him. Every movement is calculated. Every kill is effortless. That scene is important because it shows what Vader was like when he wasn't conflicted, when he was fully committed to the dark side. And it's terrifying. Here's Vader's real weakness. Emotion, specifically conflicting emotions. When he was fully dark side, fully committed to being Vader, he was unstoppable. But when Anakin started emerging when he felt conflicted, his power dropped dramatically. Against Obi-Wan on Mustafar, Anakin was conflicted. He'd just betrayed everything he believed in. Killed younglings, choked Padme. His mind was chaos. That's why Obi-Wan won. Not because Obi-Wan was stronger, but because Anakin was fighting himself as much as he was fighting Obi-Wan. Against Luke in Return of the Jedi, same thing. Vader didn't want to kill his son. Part of him was still Anakin, still a father. That conflict made him vulnerable. And when Palpatine started killing Luke, that conflict resolved. Anakin took control. And he did what he'd never been able to do before. He killed Palpatine, but notice, he didn't kill Palpatine as Vader. He killed him as Anakin. The dark side power was gone, replaced with something else: love, sacrifice, light side emotions that gave him the strength to do what dark side hatred never could. The comics show Vader doing things the movies never could, surviving falls that should have killed him, fighting in the vacuum of space, enduring wounds that would be fatal to anyone else. In one storyline, he's stabbed through the chest with a lightsaber. Just keeps fighting. The pain makes him stronger. The injury barely slows him down. He's fought armies, literally hundreds of opponents at once, and won. The rebels sent entire battalions against him, and he carved through them like they weren't there. He survived planetary explosions, been caught in massive explosions that destroyed everything around him. Walked out of the wreckage, and through it all he just keeps going. Because that's what Vader does. He doesn't stop. He doesn't quit. He endures every injury, every pain, every loss, and turns it into power. So how powerful was Darth Vader? Powerful enough to be the second strongest Force user in the galaxy. Powerful enough that everyone who fought him died unless he chose to let them live. Powerful enough that decades after his death, people still spoke his name with fear. He wasn't what he should have been. The Chosen One's full potential died on Mustafar. But what remained was still incredible. Telekinesis that could pull starships from orbit. Physical strength that could tear people apart. Combat skills that made him unbeatable in single combat. And a mastery of the dark side that few could match. His only real weakness was internal. When he was conflicted, when Anakin emerged, his power faltered. But when he was fully Vader, fully committed to the dark side, he was unstoppable. Palpatine kept him in check through psychological control and by literally drawing power from Vader's hatred. Without that, Vader might have eventually surpassed him. We'll never know for sure. What we do know is that Darth Vader was terrifying, a broken body containing massive power, a man who turned his suffering into strength and his hatred into dominance. The apprentice who could never quite become the master, but who remained powerful enough that nobody else dared challenge either of them. That's how powerful Darth Vader was. Not the most powerful, but more than powerful enough